believe it or not, actually, I did shopping just last night, and one avocado I had to pay $2.10, and that was the prices have gone gone up. So thank you for sharing that. But again, I'm actually glad to hear that you guys are talking about current events and current news that's going on in the world. That's actually very good for our community. So before we get started as well, can I get a volunteer to help me out though with this presentation? Yeah. Okay, I got you. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is, come on in. Thank you so much. So you're gonna be, come on. So you're gonna be, Salam Suzy. So you're gonna take a seat right here. So as I go through my presentation, and I'll ask you to just kind of, just click, make it right, clicks on it. Okay? So every time I say just click. Right. Alrighty, everyone. So let's get started. My name is Wali Abdul Hanifzai, and I work for a nonprofit organization called Access California Services. Before we get started, do you guys know why you guys are here today? No? What? You don't know what you're here for? Yeah. To learn about mental health and suicide prevention. So today, you guys are actually here, to learn about suicide prevention. And then as I go further, we're gonna have an interactive session, and that's where I want to hear more from you guys. All right? So again, let's get started. So thank you. So let's talk about the history of Didi Hirsch. So I'm gonna give you guys a little history of Didi Hirsch because I myself work with Didi Hirsch. It's an organization that was founded in 1942. They have 11 sites in Southern California, and then there's one site in Orange County. And I work in Orange County, and the site that's there is in Santa Ana. Okay, and we serve roughly about 100,000 people yearly, folks that come to us. Again, it was the first suicide prevention hotline in all of America. It was the first one ever built. We usually get about roughly 80,000 calls that we get a year. There's various language capacity built in it. So if you're Arabic speaking, you can call in, and there's somebody there with Arabic speaking translation services for anybody who speaks Urdu, anybody who speaks Farsi, Pashto. It's all accommodated. And then anybody who's hard and deaf of hearing, there's a text component to it, so you can always encourage others who, for instance, if you don't want to talk to anyone, you can always text, all right, to make the process much easier. And we have chat services as well. And then again, staff members are highly trained. So again, with Didi Hirsch, the way we work is that we have a one-on-one services session where we go ahead and we provide a one-on-one therapy sessions. Anybody who ever have thoughts of suicide, anyone who actually wants to go ahead and commit suicide, we actually bring them in. I myself or some of my staff members who have been trained in suicide prevention, we talk to the individual and to see what they're feeling, what their thoughts are like. Sometimes your thoughts, it gets very negative. You get negative thoughts. You go to dark moments in your life, or sometimes your thoughts just lead you to suicidal paths, right? So for that, we talk to those individuals to make sure how can we better redirect your thoughts into something that's positively done. And then the second thing that we have is when you have a loss of a family member. So if you ever lose somebody in your household, can somebody tell me, is that something that's easily digestible or not? It's not, right? Why is that? And what can happen? Let's say, God forbid, if somebody in my family passed away today, and let's say take 2 weeks from now, a month from now, a year from now, I'm still having a hard time coping. So what might be some of the challenges that I go through on a daily basis? Yes? There's stages of denial. I'm still in my mindset, I'm still thinking that this person has not passed away. Yes?
Well, I feel like one thing that's really common is you won't really process it right when it happens, or some people it'll really start to hit a while after, even a year after it actually happens, which makes it even harder to cope with because other people have almost already moved on from it. So you kind of have to hold it in, it's difficult to read and cope with it.
It is. So did you guys hear what she said? So she said that some folks, some individuals, they have a hard time coping. So it even takes a year for them to cope with the loss of their family members. And for some people, it's very easy, right? So when that happens, do you guys know why that happens or no? Why is it that a person really has a hard time coping with the loss of the family or loved ones?
Maybe they might feel guilt for not being there for them
So yeah, so when they feel guilty, that's part of grief and loss. Do you guys know what else there is? When somebody dies, what are certain things that go through your head? An individual, when somebody passes away, there are certain things that go through an individual's head at that time. Yes. Well, when it comes to grief and loss and denial, that's one. So you past memories, but so they distract you from doing day-to-day tasks. So that does occur. Again, you have anger, and who do you have anger towards? You have anger towards yourself. Who else do you have anger towards? Huh? How they died. I wish I was there. What else? The person who died. Yeah, sometimes that happens. And what was that? How can you stop it? We're going to go through that. And then other things that ends up happening is that we also bargain. Do we know who we bargain with? We bargain with God. We bargain with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, telling ourselves that why couldn't I spend more time with the person that just passed away? So these are the stages that we go through. But we have a support group where when a family member has lost somebody, we actually get the family to come to us to therapy session, and then we have the whole family sit down and talk about their feelings, emotions, and thoughts. Because when something like this takes place, you can see that an adult is coping well, but the child is not. But the child really needs to see the parent be able to also have the same feelings and emotions so they can understand the idea. And then thirdly and finally, it's what you guys are doing today is the outreach and engagement. What we call is prevention, early intervention. And for that, we come out and we help train the community and understanding the statistics, signs, and symptoms of suicidality and what suicide looks like, and then how can you guys help an individual, a family member, a community member, or even yourselves if you guys come across it, okay? Can we go to the next slide? Alrighty, so what do you guys see here? Can you guys see? What was it? It's an iceberg, right? So what can you tell me about the iceberg? So it's a lot deeper and you can't see more of it that's underneath the water. I had a hand raised there. What was it? It's floating? Yeah, of course. What else? It caused the Titanic to sink. There you go. So the idea here is that this is an analogy that I use is that, just like the sister had said, if you look at the iceberg, if we take a look at it, from a real life perspective, if you look at this in real life, it's usually a big iceberg. But what's underneath it? Do you see what's underneath it? The core base that actually holds it, it's even bigger. It's like 2 to 3 times even bigger. And now let's talk about human beings. When you first meet somebody in life, how much do you know about them? Surface level, right? Very little. How much do you actually go ahead and talk to? I mean, just people on a day-to-day basis, right? When you meet them, unless they're your best friends, you probably go ahead and talk to them more. But if they're not, how much do we know about a person? Just amongst each other, 5 to 10%. Thank you. Yeah, or 2%. But that's. Now use the same analogy. How do we know that an individual is going through a hardship? They're going through difficult times in their life, challenges. Even here in school, somebody might be getting bullied. Somebody's probably having a hard time coming here, facing identity crisis. Going home, somebody's having a generational gap where your parents don't understand you, or you don't have you don't understand your own parents. Does that happen, or does that not happen? That happens? Yeah.
I was just gonna add to you could also know exactly what's going on with someone and still not know how it's affecting them because different people react differently to different things. So we could see someone being treated some type of way, but we don't really take anything of it or realize that they're being affected by it because we wouldn't be as affected.
Definitely.
So it makes us kind of insensitive sometimes to
It definitely does. It definitely does. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing it. And to go further, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys more about statistics of suicide prevention and suicidality. Did you guys know that there's 9.8 million people who actually have suicide thoughts yearly in Southern California? People that constantly have thoughts of suicide, that want to kill themselves. And then out of those, there's 1.3 million people who actually attempt. That means that they have a plan set in place where they take away their life. They try to take away their life. It either be, various methods that they use. And then there's roughly 45% of those that actually go ahead and complete suicide. So just to give you guys the numbers, do you guys think that the numbers tell the full story or no? It doesn't, right? And why is that? Yeah. Those are the only people that actually told their stories, right? And what about the stories that people that we don't know of? What if, the ones that are facing hard challenges or difficulties where we haven't captured their information? Undetected information, unreported ones. So again, it's the 10th leading cause of death here in the United States. Most lethal means is a firearm that has been used. Not just that, but 59% of people who have died by suicide, death has died in the first attempt. Again, anybody can be at risk of it. And now I want to ask you guys something, just generally speaking. There's more females who actually try committing suicide. More females compared to men, okay? There's more females in numbers, they try to commit suicide more than men. But the results show, and research shows that there's more men who are actually completing their suicide. Why is that? Huh? Who's overthinking it? The women overthink it? Okay, so you're telling us that men, we can't think? That's the answer?
Maybe men are more impulsive.
Men are more impulsive? Thank you. You said, women, yes. And with today's social media, the way everything is built is that, yes, there's a lot of high expectation amongst women, right? It is amongst females that you're supposed to look a certain way. You're supposed to look, you got to have, makeup on, on social media, social posts, compared to men. How about yourself? I know you had your hand raised. That's the question? Okay. What else, guys? So what's going on? Why is it that we're more successful in killing ourselves? What's going on? They play. Okay, so I can be with the guys. We play violent games. Is that true? What does that have to do with killing people? I know there's females who actually play. They're MMA fighters. They play violent games. So what's going on? Huh? They play video games. What else? Okay, so men are more capable of continuing. So I think I had one there, and I'm going to ask you this, and I'll answer the question. Yes. Guys, if you guys have questions, let's hear everybody else. Go. Okay. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it could also be kind of like almost like a pride thing in a weird way, where it's like they tried something and like they didn't want to like fail at it.
Okay.
Like it's like they carried it out.
So to answer you guys' question, it's basically the use of how you guys end your life. That's what it is. So when it comes to females, majority of times this is what happens. They tend to take their lives away by cutting themselves or by taking medication with overdose. Okay. For men and us guys, what ends up happening is that we use things like firearm and we hang ourselves. So by the time help is arrived, the likelihood and the chance of who has a better chance of surviving? The women has a better chance of surviving. It's just that the men, they use more of an aggressive form of lethal means. That's the difference. Okay? So now let's talk about youth statistics, guys. This is something that I want you guys to hear and learn about. And maybe these are certain things that you guys can share with me as well. There's roughly 436 people ages 10 to 14 who die by suicide yearly. And then there's 2,000 people ages 15 to 19 who die committing suicide. And then 3,500 people who actually die at ages 20 to 26. One young person dies every 1 hour and 32 minutes who actually commit suicide and try to kill themselves. It's the third leading cause of death for anybody who's 10 and 14 years old. The third. Know that, it's the third. And not just that, but the second leading cause of death amongst those that are 15 to 24. So now what's going on? I want to be able to ask you guys this question. What's taking place here? And raise your hand, please, if you have any questions. And let me get your team.
That stage of your life, you tend to be more emotionally vulnerable and more impulsive with your actions.
So you're more impulsive with your actions. Again, there's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of changes in life, right? When at that stage of time. What up? This is Southern California. This is Southern California with us. Yeah, this is Southern California. On a yearly basis, nationwide, there's roughly 1 million people who actually kill themselves. Million. Remember I said 55,000 people in Southern California kill themselves? There's roughly 1 million people who actually complete suicide on a yearly basis throughout the United States. So any statistics that I go through right now, this is here in Southern California amongst us. So we're all included. Everybody's included. What else? What's going on? What's taking place here? Why are the rates so high? You said pressure? Yes? Peer pressure? Of what? Your life is changing, and then you have the generational gap where it becomes challenging for you to understand, or for somebody like your family to understand you. And what about the changes? What's going on with changes? Yeah. Repeat that, I'm sorry, one more time. I think there's somebody talking.
Like in terms of the changes, I feel like she was kind of saying, I think that's the period when people start developing insecurities.
Yeah.
And especially society, there's a lot of expectations to me, and not only that, like high school and college, there's a lot of there's huge competition in terms of academics.
Academically as well. And then where's the pressure coming from? Yourself. You have a lot of society puts a lot of pressure. Everything, right? Everyone. So you have the pressure of society. What else?
I was just gonna add also that age group right now, we're all those in that
Guys.
age group are the ones that kind of have grown up more with the social media and all the technology and stuff. So I feel like those are the main people or ages that we are always comparing ourselves, because you see everybody else's life and
Yeah.
where everyone else gets accepted to college or what everyone else's career is, and you see the perfect parts of everyone's life. And obviously we know every part of our own life. So,
Yeah.
when you compare yourself and it's I don't know, that just.
It's true, and that is very much true. But do you guys know that anybody who posts on social media usually, it's not there exists, actual factual life that they show that they're happy at that moment, but that their life is not like that. Do you guys know that? And then one of the other things with social media, what I've learned with the younger generation is that there's a high expectation of how we want to look and how we need to present ourselves, right? When it comes to what? Social media and posts. And again, I've used this earlier on and priorly too. Don't ever make expectations, or whenever you see somebody on Facebook or Instagram, just to tell you the truth, it's a real person who's actually taken care of by 6, 7 crew members in their team. One person is doing the makeup. It's either a guy or a girl, whoever it is. Guys, they put on makeup for him. They make sure that they're well equipped. They have a dresser. So there's a lot of people that are trying to make this one individual be the perfect person. But in reality, can they do that by themselves? They can't. They can't. It's a lot of pressure. So so you have to take that into consideration, that whatever you see on social media, it's also not true, and it's also very damaging. Now let's talk about survivor loss statistics. Research shows that during our lifetime, there's 64% of us who will know somebody who has died by suicide. Has any of you guys come across anybody, or did you guys know anyone who has attempted suicide before? By show of hands? Good. Okay, good. Okay. What about you guys? Why are you guys' hands all down? Okay, now it's coming up. Do you guys, okay. So even here, I can share something personally about myself and my family member. I had a cousin who recently, not too long ago, he had shot himself 3 to 4 times. And the reason why he did that is that there was a lot of pressure coming from the community and society, because the parents were having a hard time, in terms of relationship issues. The father wasn't really involved in their relationship, so he would come here and there, and then he would physically abuse the mother and the children. And for that, he didn't get the community's help. So what ended up happening for him was that he said it's better to, kill myself and be away from all the pains in life that he's facing by ending his life. So that's what he did. He attempted suicide. He shot himself 3-4 times, but alhamdulillah, he did survive. And this happened about 3 years ago, which is still recent, 3 years ago. But now, he just last year he got married, and now he's having a child. He's having a child. So does anybody else want to share any stories that they have had or they know of anyone that has attempted suicide before? No? You don't have to. So now let's talk more. There's 48% of us who will personally know someone who has died by suicide, and 20% of us will identify as survivors of loss of suicide. So can we go to the next one, please? Thank you. So what do you guys see here? Huh? It's a stick figure, right? He's a happy guy. We're all happy folks. Can we? So what do you, just one. Yeah. So what do you look forward to, guys? On a day-to-day basis, what do you guys look forward to? Success. Eating, yes, eating. Huh? Guys, what do you guys look forward to on a daily basis? What do you guys? Being healthy. Seeing family. Family is important, right, to us? Relationships are important to us. What else is important to us? Friends are important to us, right? Parents are important to us. Now let's move back. Said poverty. Oh, our deen. Okay, good. And if we go, and then what stresses you out now? School. Okay, school stresses you. Huh? Parents. Relationships, siblings. So these things, there's a lot of things that stress us out, right? Guys, let's stay focused. I know you guys want to chat more. We'll have a question and answer session as we get towards the end, all right? So just bear with me. So let's go to the next one. So what happens when everything piles up? You start crying, you break down. What else? You possibly depression. Thank you. Very good. Say something good. No? Mental health issues? Yeah, definitely. You get overwhelmed, right? So now, social isolation. So now look at it. Things that we look forward to. Let's keep it. Work, school. Next one. Relationships. Friends. Family. You have finances. As you get older, you're gonna have, you're gonna start thinking about finances. Loss of a family member. That's a big loss when someone, when you lose somebody in your life. It's a very challenging and a very important time in your life. Identity crisis. I know a lot of us at this age, we're trying to form an identity for ourselves, aren't we? Are we trying to become someone at this point in time? We're trying to learn who we are. And again, I know we're hitting even puberty at this point of time as we get older and we get as we get older. You have to remember, there's some of us, our bodies change, our emotions change, physically, emotionally. So you have to remember that these are important factors that take place. And sometimes it becomes challenging because some of us might not understand the process of it, and that's normal, and that's okay. What happened? So good. I'm glad you caught off. You caught to that. That was actually good. My other question was going to be, look, compared to the beginning when I asked you how the stick figure looked. He looked happy. As things pile up, things become very messy in your head, right? You start getting disturbed. You start getting a lot of challenges. You start having a lot of thoughts. And with that, if you can't solve a problem, what ends up happening? Everything stays in your head, right? It starts becoming fuzzy. It starts becoming, again, it becomes very difficult for you to problem solve. You feel like there's no solution to problems, day-to-day problems for you. So what ends up happening is that you hit a point where you start having mental health issues. And do you know when you have mental health issues is that when you're in class and you can't concentrate. When you're in class and you start getting, when you get bad grades, that's because of bad concentration. You don't want to focus. You don't want to be in school. When you feel like you have no purpose of life, there's no purpose of life, that's because there's something going on in your own life that you don't look forward to. So these are the things that go forward. Okay. Let's go to the next one. So now let's talk about the tunnel hole. But before we do that, I want to ask you guys, what does depression look like, guys? What is it? Darkness? Yes. When somebody's depressed, what are some of the symptoms and signs? Social isolation. Self-harm. Being tired all the time. How about you guys? Let me ask some of the boys. You guys are very quiet today. Anxiety. Yeah. Angry. What else? What else? Right there. Yeah. Disconnected from other people. Okay. Yeah. Loss of interest. Yeah.
Like not being genuine.
Not being genuine.
You're kind of like having to put on a front for people.
Yeah. You put on a different face. You lose appetite. Lazy. You get lazy. And those are all correct. Thank you for stating that. Those are all true. And don't forget, change in sleep patterns. Either you're sleeping too much or you're sleeping too little. As we talked about, poor concentration, feeling of worthlessness. Those are all factual reasons and challenges. So now let's talk about the tunnel, the brain tunnel. So I want to speak to you guys regarding, let's say there's a hole in the ground, right? And every single one of us are inside the hole. And what are the likelihood? Let's say there's a deep tunnel or deep hole underneath the ground. And what are the likelihood of us actually coming out of it? How many people do you think can actually get out of the tunnel? Huh? All of us? Not many. Generally, it's usually not many. Individually, though, we're talking about individually, not collectively. Individually, you're in a tunnel. You know, you're in a hole underneath the ground. And it's a long, let's say it's a long hole underneath the ground. And the likelihood is not many of us are going to come out. So now let's say some of us that come out, okay, great. We came out of the tunnel. Or we get some form of help. You know, somebody comes and helps us out. Let's say that you're in the tunnel and then there's no help for you. What ends up happening when you keep trying, you know, as you look up and you're trying to climb up, you get up, but then you keep falling. What ends up happening? You get tired and tired and tired, right? What happens when you get tired? You give up, you lose energy, you lose hope. Okay, yeah, you lose hope. So when that does happen, what ends up happening when you lose hope? You stop trying. So what would happen to you in the tunnel when you're there, when you stop trying? You'll die, right? So now imagine a person who has suicidal thoughts. This is how they're feeling. They give up in real life. Even though that this is how their brain is. They're trapped in their own brain. That's what ends up happening. And they live with this every single day of their lives. They don't know how to come out of it. They're in a tunnel where they have no way of seeing light. You know, there's nobody else there to, you know, understand the pain that they're going through. And that's what ends up happening with that individual, where they rather kill themselves than to keep on trying and look for hope as well. Do you guys understand? Is that good? Okay. So, keep on. So now let's talk about invitations. What do you guys see here? So let me tell you guys, this is actually real life story and real life drawings that has been collected that I'm sharing with you guys today. And these stories and collections are collections of those that actually did go forward and commit suicide. This is actually a 16-year-old boy. It's actually a boy. He has long hair. Some guys have long hair. So he has a long hair. Guys. So what do you guys see here? A boy's looking through the window, right? Dark clouds. What else? He looks sad, right? Black and white. What else do you guys see? Yes, if you look at the picture, it's separating the boy from the gate. In the way, even if you look at him, he's trying to allow others to see that, you know, he's still seeable, he's visible, that he wants somebody to notice him. That's what this picture had showed. And as I go further and show you guys more pictures, this took place in the matter of 7 months before he killed himself. Okay. Now look at the warning signs. These are invitation signs. And this happened in school, which the teachers didn't catch. If we go to the next one. Same guy. What do you see here? You guys see? Huh? Wait, who said he's fixing a car? Alhamdulillah. What do you guys see? Guys, get calm, stay calm. Just raise your hands. This is what we're gonna do. I want you guys to raise your hand and tell me what you guys see, okay? Now go ahead, raise your hand. So you see, he's being run over by a car. What else? That's it, right? Pretty simple. This is what he do because he wants an actual car to run him over. And that's how he feels right now. He feels every single day of his life, he feels like there's a car running him over. Let's show the next picture, please. Can you guys see this picture? I know it's small on this, but. Raise your hand and tell me what you see. Yeah. So the building, yeah, so you see like a dagger over him. Somebody's about to stab him. What else? Yeah.
It kind of looks like the world around him is causing him to like feel like a certain way he wants to die or like he's gonna die.
So if you, good. So the way the world is around him is that everything is, it's against him, and he feels that that he's dying. That's. Yeah. Very good, very good. So if you look at it, he's holding on to streetlights. He's basically indicating that he wants people to notice that he's still holding on, and he still wants somebody to notice him. But if you look at him, he's being dragged in to where? Do you see the streets? It's starting to get narrower and narrower. That means that the streets, there's no full-on street that keeps on going. The street's getting narrow on him, and things are shutting down on him. And they're closing in on him. So that's his constant thoughts every single day that he wakes up. So remember, this is how certain folks and certain individuals, they feel this way every single day. And then the last picture is actually his last picture that he drew after 6 months before he committed suicide. And that's him, he committed suicide by hanging himself. But now, what do you guys see in this picture? What do you notice? Yeah. Do you guys see that? Everything is alive around him. But if you take a look at him, it's just him hanging. Everything else is alive, it's colorful, it's beautiful. Do you know what he was trying to say? This tree gives life, right? It gives life to apples, greens, different things, right? Even the apples represent other people, humans, and happiness, but he's the only apple, basically the only person on the tree that feels that way. And before he committed suicide, that was his last picture. Yeah.
Kind of almost like
The world was going to go on without him. The world was going to go on without him. All right? So let's continue. So again, now we're talking about social media posts. I know we're all in social media. We use social media on a day-to-day basis. Now let's talk about posts. I'm starting to give up on life. What do you do when you see something like this? Have you guys ever reached out to anybody that you know of, that you don't know of, that actually had stated on social media? And guarantee me, and I promise you guys have come across people that actually always post negative thoughts, negative feelings, emotions about how life is challenging and they don't want to live. Anybody? When you had your hand up? You had your hand up, right? Or no? Okay. You have?
Yeah.
You come across that? Do you want to share anything what it had said?
Well, like usually on social media there's like spam accounts, but people, their close friends only like post to their close friends.
Uh-huh.
And so basically they feel like that's an outlet and they say something.
Okay. So it's like a group of friends
Yeah.
just talking about their, sharing their thoughts and feelings?
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Good. And do you guys, okay, so what do you guys do? What do the friends do though?
Just like say
Okay, so it's like a support group that you guys have created for each other. which is good, which is good. At least you guys have a good support group to do that.
It's like the spam is like a private Instagram account, and you only let select people to see that. So it's like a regular Instagram account.
Okay.
Let's say like this is my spam, like I'll post a random picture, and
Uh-huh.
the caption will not be like what the picture's about. It'll just be like, oh, like about my day or how I feel.
Okay.
Like he said, people kind of use this as an outlet to like show what's really going on. It's like a diary. Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically like an Instagram diary.
Oh, that's true.
It's a regular Instagram, but like it's just a spam.
Okay, okay. I'm not aware that I have to actually catch up on that. Yeah. Yes.
I think sometimes people will they go to like what I like to go to and then go to like kill myself. So like they normalize stuff like that and then like people don't take like those actual moments.
Seriously? Yeah, that has happened before too. There's times where certain folks have used that just to get things or just to use it, as people say, as a form of attention. But still, what you want to do is that anytime anybody talks negatively or they say something like this or they have a post about killing themselves, what you want to do is you want to be able to intervene. You want to be able to make sure that even those comments, even if you know that the person is not serious about it, make sure that you are asking the question and you're approaching them and asking them if they have any suicidal thoughts or not, or if things are okay with them. All right. So now let's talk about some writing suicide notes. I'm going to read this to you guys, and I want your guys' thoughts on this. Okay. It says to family, I love you. I hope you all got my last picture I sent you guys. Just know I love you all. Bye. Now, my question here to you guys is, do you guys see the handwriting? How old do you think this person is? Not even 10. Not even 10. 7. 7 years old. 7 years old. The 7-year-old. So now look at this. This is a 7-year-old who actually wrote this before they ended up. Do you know what they ended up doing? Huh? They didn't hang themselves. They jumped off. They jumped off top of a building. Yeah. They lived in a higher building. They lived in a higher building, and this kid had jumped off. And there was another story of another kid who luckily lived. Do you know what he did when he wanted to kill himself? Was he ran into a car. And that happens. That happens. Or they hang themselves. They hang themselves. Yeah.
What did he say after the guy helped survive?
I don't know what he actually said. That was one of the stories that we had collected from the family member. But as far as I know, the kid is in good health. Other than that, we don't know what has gone further. How the kid's doing. We don't know that yet. Yeah. Alrighty? Yeah. What happened? This here, guys. This here. What? Guys, come on. Let's take this seriously. No. It's a different person. It's a different person. The last picture? Oh, the social media post? Oh, the last picture. So we don't have the picture. We have the note. We didn't get the picture. The family didn't give the picture. They give the note though. Okay? Now let's move on to a different one that I'm going to read off to you guys. It says, please tell the girls how much I love them and cannot stand the thoughts of being apart from them. Kiss them from me every day. It's a mom. It's a mother. It's a mother who actually wrote this before she entered her life. And do you guys see this? Do you know what these things are? Tear marks. These are tear marks as she was crying. You guys are good. You guys are very good. These are actual factual tear marks before she attempted, and killed herself. Okay? So now the question here comes is now what? Now what can we do? There's 3 things that I want you guys to learn as we go forward. Not yet. as we go forward, and these are the 3 things that I want you guys to learn and to know going forward. So number 1 is to ask, number 2 is to listen, and number 3 is to link. And how are we going to do that, right? So how do you help a suicidal person? Most important thing to do if you think someone is at risk, just simply by asking them, are you thinking of killing yourself? Do you guys think that's something that's easy to ask, or do you think that that's a little challenging for you guys to do? Why is it too challenging? Guys, let's raise your hand. I want to hear this, yeah. It's straightforward, but okay, straightforward.
And I feel like the likelihood of someone actually saying like yes, I like even if you are like
Uh-huh.
just saying like yes I am, like just to that question is not very likely.
You don't think it's likely? Okay. So you said they'll ignore it, they won't mention the fact that they have suicidal thoughts, or they want to kill themselves. What else? What do you guys think? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It would help. Okay, good. What else? You might say the wrong thing, right? So I'm going to tell you guys what can you do. How can you lead on the conversation? So let me give you guys a scenario. When you guys meet someone, right, for the first time, somebody that's very new to you. Let's say you meet someone at a different school, at a school competition, or out of the state. What allows you to connect with another individual? How do you connect with somebody? Commonalities. Very good. Things that are common. So when you ask someone who has suicidal thoughts, are you thinking of killing yourself? Do you know what you're doing? You're asking them, first and foremost, that person will will realize that you care, and secondly, it's something that it's commonly connected to them. It's relatable to them. So for that, they're going to open up to you. They'll talk to you. So now the second thing I want you guys to do is, our picture number 1. When someone says yes, I am thinking of killing myself. This is our first reaction. It's our first reaction, isn't it? Like, oh my God, like what do I do? Usually this is usually what happens, is that when somebody comes and says I want to kill myself, and again, I know it's funny at the moment, but if you get someone to come to you and say I want to kill myself, and they're crying, at that moment you will not be laughing, I guarantee you. You're going to be puzzled, you're going to be frozen. You're going to be in a state of shock. You're not going to know what to do. And you're going to feel like there's a huge burden on you. Okay, this is our reaction, literally. Again, what we usually do is we put like a bandage on top of it. It's okay, things will get better. How do you know? How do you know things are going to get better tomorrow for them? We don't know that. So, next one. So the reaction they need is a light and hope. So how do we do that? Well, if the answer is yes, again, take a deep breath. At that moment, you want to be in control of the conversation, guys. Take a deep breath and follow up with an empathetic question. How are you, first, the moment, they say, yes, I want to kill myself, tell me more about it. How can I be of support? How can I help you? And then number 2, this number 2 step is that after asking directly the following question, an empathetic question, what you want to do is you want to listen. Listen to their reasons for wanting to die and allow them the space to talk about the pain. So this is something that what they are going to do is they're going to talk, and they're going to talk a lot. When this happens, you have to listen to them. Don't give them your feedback. They don't want to hear your feedback. They just want to talk to somebody where they can go ahead and express their feelings. They can express their emotions, their thoughts, their ideas, even how challenging life has been for them. Do you know why they do that? And why they want somebody to just listen to them? They want to be noticed because nobody has ever noticed them. Nobody gives them the chance. Nobody allowed that opportunity. So everything that builds on the inside, gets built up deeper and deeper inside of them, that actually causes them that causes the negative effect. And for that, they they have suicidal thoughts. So yeah, just listen to them. Easy and simple. You don't have to do anything. Just listen to them. And number 3, step 3, is to link. And then how do you do that? How do you link him? Well, if you know anybody In the community, for instance, link a youth, for instance, you can to an adult who is trained in suicide prevention. If you know someone who's well equipped, you say, you know what, I know somebody that can help you, and make a hand warm off. Take him to the professional, connect that individual to someone that can benefit from a service, from a good service. You can call the 24-hour hotline, this DDR suicide prevention hotline. I brought some flyers you guys can take. Keep it with you. It can help. It can save a life. Yeah, all right? So do that. Again, school resources. You can talk to the masjid. You can talk to your teachers, administrators. They can be helpful. Collaborate with other adults that you trust that will make sure that they'll take care of you, or they'll take care of your friends. Again, stay calm. Continue to be alert for future risk, and then follow up if possible. We go to the next one. Do you have anything like that? Okay. Let's play this video. I want to play this video. So this basically talks about empathy and sympathy. So when I asked you guys to listen to this individual discussing somebody that wants to talk about their challenges, just listen to them and be very empathetic. Okay. So this kind of talks. This is a good video that talks about empathy and sympathy. Okay.
Should I just move this part of the way so that
I'm trying. Let's see if the volume is perfect. Thank you. Can you guys see now? All right, thank you. Where's the speaker?
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, huh? No. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. At least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Okay, good. So, what did you guys think about the video? Good video? You liked it? So what did you get from the video? Yeah.
I like that it separated sympathy from empathy and kind of told us what not to do.
It separated, discussing, what empathy and compared to sympathy, what it is. So what did you guys notice, and what did I tell you guys? What do we want to use? Huh? Do you want to use empathy, or do we want to be empathetic to that individual, or do you want to be sympathetic? Empathetic, right? Yeah, absolutely. because we want to make sure that, for instance, if we want that individual to understand, we have to be, we have to, number one, relate. And also, just to listen to them, we have to be empathetic in terms of hearing them out and not giving our own judgments. Alrighty? Because throughout life, what ends up happening is that if you have, something that you are, let's say you're in a dark place or in a dark time, you want to be able to come out of that dark space. But anytime you went to an individual, you talked to, let's say, your parents, you came to school, or myself, and let's say if I'm somebody who's very sympathetic and I say, you know what, it's all right, things will get better, just keep going, just kind of brush it off. Does that solve the problem? It doesn't, right? You kind of get brushed off. It does make it worse, and it seems like no one cares. That's what ends up happening. So when you're empathetic, you're there to hear and you're there to listen to an individual. Alrighty? So again, if you're not thinking about suicide, you are not alone. Please tell a safe adult. And this is for the youth specifically. Don't keep anyone's suicidal thoughts or plan a secret. Please do not do that. I know sometimes it becomes secretive. A friend of yours could say, please don't tell anybody I have suicidal thoughts. It's nothing to play around with. Honestly, don't play around with stuff like this. Reason why I say that, remember that being a good friend can save and help a life. Okay? Again, tips for family members. Check in about emotional and mental health and suicide topics. Have the difficult conversations. Talk to your family, even for yourself, if you guys want to talk to your parents about this. I usually go out and I also talk to the parents, and I always tell them, have these conversations with your kids as well, because these are important conversations. And not just that, but to make sure that if your child comes to you, that they're not in trouble, but you have to be proud of them, for them to come and speak to you. Because what ends up happening, what I've learned and what I've noticed in our community is that kids don't go to their parents because either they're afraid, either their parents think it's not serious, or they don't care. What else? Has anybody, anything else? Yeah. You're too young to feel like that. Seems like you have no, you can't feel what they're feeling or other people feel, right? Which is, not true. Uh-huh. Yeah. So she said that that's something that only people who are, Americans, white Americans, go through stuff like this. But with data, statistics showing that this happens to everyone. We live in the same world. We live in the same community. We all go through the same challenges, the same difficulties.
Sometimes parents because they do so much to try and give us the best, and they can't really prevent certain things like mental health things and stuff. Sometimes when things just happen, so parents will they'll almost guilt you for it. What reason do you have to be upset?
I give to you everything.
And yeah, I give you everything, and you're not pleased still. And it's
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Absolutely. There's times where parents also tell the children that I've given you so much. I go to work. I make sure that there's food over. You have a roof over your head. You have food. I buy you what you need. But again, that becomes more of a commodity. Materialistic things. That's where we don't come to an understanding, or where the parents, they don't understand, or they don't connect with the child in terms of emotions and feelings. And that's where it becomes hard for the parent, because the parent also need to come and be able to be more empathetic and kind of connect with their own kids. That's where there's the gap, as well, as we always call the generational gap, where for those that have been raised here or they have grown here in America, it's we grew up in a system that's very different than how your parents are raised. So it's two different systems, two different way of seeing life, and that's why we have that generational gap in today's society. Thank you for sharing that. That's very good. Again, help youth identify other safe adults other than their parents and caregivers who can help them. And then again, use this presentation I just had that I'm talking about, and then start an open communication with your own household as well. All right, guys? If you go. Okay. That was passed. Again, if you guys want to take a picture, I have flyers. I will pass down some flyers to you. But this is, suicide prevention hotline. If you go to the next one. Community resource, what can you do? So again, there's going to be people that come to you and say, you know what, I have suicidal thoughts. Okay, thoughts. So I'm going to give you two different things: thoughts and actual suicidal intent behind them taking plans and for them to go forward and for them to take action on those suicidal thoughts. Number one, if you have suicidal thoughts, anybody can get thoughts. Okay, everyone has thoughts. That doesn't mean that a person would go ahead and commit suicide. Understand that. There's times where, even us as individuals, we've usually told ourselves, God, oh God, like this, I just don't want to be alive right now. You say that in the moment, right? You can always follow up with a question, hey, were you serious about that, or are you just planning to kill you? Or you were just messing around? Oh, it's just a thought that came to my mind. I would never do it. That's okay. That happens. Because thoughts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us thoughts, we get thoughts all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. But yes, if it's at times where they say, I have thoughts of suicide, and you ask them, well, do you have any plans? Now, be very mindful here. When they say yes, there's an intent behind it, I'm actually thinking of committing suicide by taking my life this way. The moment they give you a plan, if they know the date, the time, what they're going to use to kill themselves, right away. Don't hesitate. Call 911. Tell an adult, okay? Tell an adult, call 911. And the other thing is that you can always help them call Didi Hirsch, Didi Hirsch hotline. The centralized assessment team. Dr. Taif, we have a centralized assessment team here, right? No? Okay. So I have to find out. Maybe I can give you guys information on the centralized assessment team. It's a county program. The reason why I got this is because this is Orange County. I have it in Orange County. So the way the team works is that the centralized assessment team, we make a call. Somebody from the county comes in and does an assessment with that individual that has suicidal thoughts. If it's something not severe, they'll say, you know what, this was just in the moment, they'll go. They'll just send him back home. If this is something that's very serious and this individual is harmful to himself, we'll call the ambulance and we'll take him to the hospital. And then now they're placed in the hospital for a minimum of 72 weeks. They're on a hold. It can go as far as 2 weeks till this treatment started, and then there's severe inpatient treatment for them, okay? Again, next page. So that's about it for my presentation. I'll fill out, I'll pass out flyers. Please ask me questions. I do have surveys I want you guys to fill out to tell me how the presentation was. Okay, guys? Yes, Dr. Taif. Sorry, did I say 72? It is 72 hours minimum, and then goes to at least 2 weeks or more. Thank you for correcting me that. I can't believe I said 72 weeks. Thank you for saying that. So now, guys, thank you again. Thank you for being here, guys. Now I want to open this. We have time left for open dialogues and discussions. Oh, somebody has put a comment. Okay, we have live stream as well. So let's take this question and then we'll answer it. Okay. Yeah, something, social media, again, thank you, Brother Mukhtar, for sharing that with us. Due to, social outlets, celebrities who have committed suicide, people thinking that it's a form of, or a way, a pathway to go ahead and committing suicide. It's actually not, it's not. You want to, first and foremost, you don't want to go into a route that's not Islamic too. And the other thing is that, as you had mentioned, 13 Reasons Why, that's also one of the shows that actually caused a lot of trauma and suicidality. And there's another game, I remember, it's called the Momo something. What is it? Blue Whale, and then there's one with Momo. Something with Momo. Momo Challenge. Momo Challenge, guys. So remember, psychologically, again, you guys are very young. In situations like this, when you guys feel very discomforted in life, or you guys get very discomforted in times where you think that someone is putting pressure on you, don't ever feel that way. Come and talk to a safe adult. Always talk to a safe adult, okay? Don't feel like if somebody tells you something, or you think, or you internalize something very negatively, that I can't share my thoughts with anybody, or else somebody is going to go ahead and make fun of me. Someone's not going to go ahead and support me. Don't ever do that, because that can cause a lot of problems in life for you guys. So I always encourage you guys, if you get those thoughts, please tell somebody. So now let's go forward and let's ask if do you guys have any questions, any suggestions? Yes. Yeah. Good question. So sister just asked, have I ever come across anybody who actually had tried committing suicide? I have plenty. So I'll give you one case scenario. I had worked with a 22-year-old young man. He came from Iran. Okay, he came from Iran. He lived here by himself. So what ended up happening was that he had priorly committed suicide twice back home. Life was very challenging. He had attempted to commit suicide twice back at home. So number one, guys, let's hear this because somebody asked a question, so let's be respectful of them. Number one, they tried taking medication. They tried overdosing, and then he was revived. And then the second time, he tried wrapping himself around a cord, cord around his neck to kill himself. It didn't work out. So he came here. I asked him during our session, as I was talking to him too, when I did an assessment with him, I asked him, do you have suicidal thoughts now? And he said that, what I had done back home, I would never do it again because life is so precious. And I'll tell you, just hear me out, and I'll tell you certain things. So he told me life is so precious. Even when he was talking to me, he was actually my first, one of the clients that I was providing legal advocacy to, who I came across who was suicidal too. And I listened to him and I said, yeah, you know what? He loves life and things are going well. So back, going forward, a couple of months later, he had a legal case against him going forward. So what happened in that legal case was that, usually when you get accused of something and then there's a criminal case against you, you need to take out loans to be out of court, out of prison. So that was the scenario for him. So he was out of prison, but on the day of when I went to court with him, one of the individuals who actually signed for his bail bond took, they signed off the bail bond. They didn't want to support him anymore. So at that moment, do you know what happened? Do you know what happened to him? He didn't feel isolated, but at that moment, the judge ordered the bailiff to handcuff him and bring him in now, because there's no more loans to support him. There was nobody there to take liability on his behalf, right? And again, he's being convicted, which I'll tell you for something, he did not do. And so what had happened was right in front of me, they put handcuffs behind, in the back of his head, and I just saw his whole aura, his face. You can see, I was able to actually feel, it felt like a soul just coming out of him. I felt a soul coming out of this young man where, his face changed, he became very red. He was just looking like this. This was him, I swear, this was him. Just looking down, and he didn't know what to do, and his head was shaking. And I remember he would always tell me, I don't ever want to go to prison, I'm very scared. He's 22. He has no parents here, nobody. He's just him by himself. So at that time, I tried talking to him. He was he was on my left-hand side. He was right here while he was getting the handcuffs. And I was calling out for him to see if he wanted, I was checking to see if he was okay. Didn't reply. So I went to him and I shook him, and he was shooken up. He was like, what's going on? He couldn't process his thoughts because there was so many things going on, right? At that time and place, his mind went to a stage of shock where he couldn't process. He couldn't think straight. So 2 weeks after, so what I had done was, with one of his friends, we went to, get another bail bond under his name to get him out of prison, out of jail. So what had happened, I saw him 2 weeks later. He came to me, when I first saw him, I was very happy, and I was very energetic. I was like, wow, I get to see him. As I saw him and he was sitting in front of me, I said, how are you doing? The first thing he didn't say anything. Do you know what he did? He showed me his wrists. There was 2 marks on his wrist. 2 marks. And what he had done, he had glasses. You see the tip of your glasses? He tried committing suicide. The first day when he was took inside. He tried committing suicide. And one of the things that I learned personally and professionally was that anybody who actually has attempted to commit suicide before, they're going to do it. Because do you know why that is? Because they've done it once, they can go back to it again. They can go back to it again. So always remember that too. If anybody has committed any attempt of committing suicide, they'll go to it again. But to answer your question, that was one of the my own personal cases that I had worked with. But alhamdulillah, even with him, I think it was 3 months after when he was released, Court case was good to go. He was not found guilty, and he's living a very comfortable, happy life, and he's working, and he's very happy now. Yeah.
Have you ever like helped someone and then they still like later committed suicide?
I have. So the question was that have you ever helped someone and then later on they went and then committed suicide? At the moment, no. And alhamdulillah, thankfully, I have not had anybody who actually has committed, fully committed suicide under my care. So what I do is also that once I have someone, who comes to me, on a regular basis for therapy session, I actually give them my number, my emergency contact number. So what I do is with my clients, we have a long-term relationship during that treatment period where anytime you have thoughts, bad thoughts, suicidal thoughts, text me, call me. Because at that time, your mind goes to a dark moment, and then I usually have them give me a call, and I talk through what they're feeling, why are they feeling this certain way, what's going on, what can we do differently to make sure that you don't go through, you don't have these dark moments and dark thoughts. Yeah, but at the moment, no, I've never had anybody who actually had done it. Any other questions, guys? Yes. Uh-huh. Yes, thank you for sharing that. So the topic of bullying comes up a lot, right? Especially when it comes to schools. One of the things that we've noticed is that when you bully somebody, or let's say I'm being bullied, if I tell myself that if I have suicidal thoughts, first and foremost, why do I get suicidal thoughts? Well, let me even before that, let me tell you guys something. Anybody that bullies you, can I tell you something? Factual reason why a person bullies you? A person who is a bully is insecure. They're bullied themselves. They don't have a happy life. You know that, right? They don't have a happy life. They have a lot of pressure at home. Maybe their parents they have a bad relationship. Maybe they're being scolded by someone else, their parents. So they need to release anger. How do they do that? Well, in order for me to feel good, I have to release. And how do I release my anger? I bully somebody, right? I bully somebody. So remember that. Anybody who's actually being bullied, remember that any person that is bullying you, they're also going through a rough time. They just don't know how to help themselves. And there's nobody there to help them. That's number one. Number two, when it comes to actual individuals, let's say if I'm being bullied, if I think that, obviously you get a lot of pressures and you get a lot of, hate, and you don't like yourself, or you think that, if I'm going to go ahead and try to commit suicide, I'm going to try to commit suicide to make things easier and allow the bully to feel that, it was because of you that I died. Which is false. Nothing is going to happen. The only person, first and foremost, you're causing pain to is yourself. Yourself first. Remember that. Your parents, your loved ones. The bully is going to probably feel bad for a couple of days. He's going to go on. He's going to move on with his life. Nothing's going to change. But what is going to change, if someone is bullying you, you talk to administration. Because again, I'd be very honest with you, there's something that has happened in the pattern of how we are raised, or what we see. We just don't know how to cope. We just don't know how to cope well. It either be the boys or the girls. Bullying goes both ways. So remember that if you think that you have a hard time where if you are a bully, that you don't know how to control yourself, or you think that it's funny to cause pain to others, it's really not. It's really not funny. And I'll be very honest with you guys. You guys are causing a lot of damage. So, and also for those that are also victims of bullying, talk to school administrators. They can always help as well. Okay. The easiest thing is to talk about it, guys. And the reason why I say that is when we go out and we always tell families to promote counseling services to make sure that so we can help the families. That there's two things I've realized. Number one, parents don't send their kids to counseling services. That's number one, and I've always talked about this, because they're afraid of what the child's going to say, right? And then number two, parents don't come to counseling services because they think they know everything. That's the other thing, and it's part of reality. It's part of reality. So for that, anytime you come in and you seek counseling services, we always tell families and individuals, everything you tell us stays confidential, stays between you and I. We don't even tell the parents what goes on, unless it's a life-threatening situation. If a youth comes to us and they want to go ahead and talk and have a one-on-one session, we're not going to tell your parents. Yes, we need a parent consent form. They need to make sure that your child is seeking counseling, but you're just coming and sharing your thoughts and emotions. It's nothing hard, There's nothing bad about it. You're just coming and you're just talking about how can you better make life easier for yourself and for your friends around it. Because if you don't come to counseling, do you know what ends up happening? Is you're going to go to your friend and you're going to talk about the challenges that you're going through, right? What ends up happening over time with your friend? They get tired of hearing you. They get tired of hearing you. And I'll be honest with you. They get tired of hearing you because they're like, oh my God, I have to listen to the same thing over and over. Because nothing happens. Nothing changes, right? Even though you're telling your friend, over time they'll burn out. They'll burn out, and not just that, but you want to go to somebody who's specialized that can help make the process so much easier so you can take certain actions and steps to make your life much easier, right? Would you rather talk to your friends about something like, for instance, bullying or any family matter or a situational issue that's going on, or would you rather have that be done with a counselor and then you talk to your friend, about let's go and let's do an activity, just fun stuff. Alrighty, guys? Somebody else had a question? Do you have a question?
I think I was just gonna add that I think there's also just a taboo about my child goes to therapy.
Yes, that is true. There's a taboo behind the fact that my child is going to therapy. That and what I've heard in the community. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just also gonna add. It's also some parents might feel like it's they failed as a parent, if their child has to go somewhere else to get that kind of help.
Can I tell you something? And I usually wherever I go and I do presentations, people know me and I'm very open about talking to them. I myself, I seek therapy myself. As a professional, I seek therapy. Because even as a therapist, we have to go seek therapy. Because I don't want to go home and and talk about my clients and my situation and how I feel at home, at work, at home. I don't want to put a burden over my wife or my parents. So they don't want to hear that. I don't want them. I want to be able to enjoy my life, and be able to do things at home with my parents, with my wife, with my brother and sisters. Why would I want to share, life challenges? Yeah. Yeah, I go to therapy. Why not? Why not? The doctors have to go to the doctors, right? So again, it's a normal thing, guys. I know. So this is what has happened. So we're gonna end pretty quick. So this is how things work out, and it's not your parents' fault either. It's not our parents' fault. What has happened is that if you go back home, to your own ethnic country, what has happened is there hasn't been a mental health professional there. And the field wasn't there at that time. So what had happened was that whenever there was a family matter or an issue that took place, what ended up happening was that the family would talk amongst each other. They would talk amongst the elders, the community, the village, their religious leaders. So now as we've progressed here in the US with education, we've come to realize that no, it's a whole different field. And for that, we're trying to educate everybody to make sure that, there's nothing wrong with going and talking to somebody. There's nothing wrong. You can save some time, make things easier for yourself, and go enjoy life with your loved ones. Khalas. As simple as it is. So alrighty, it's just a perspective of how you think. If you think therapy is bad, then may Allah be with all of us. So there's a reason why everybody has professionals. There's always professionals out there. There's a reason why the teacher is a teacher, an imam's an imam, a doctor is a doctor. They're specialized in those fields, and that's what we have is professionals, mental health professionals, okay? So for that, I'm going to conclude it, and I just have surveys and handout for you guys, okay? Thank you, guys. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.